Hey guys, welcome back to Slaying with Santos. If you're new here, hi, I'm Melissa Santos. Join me as we dive into the dark and twisted minds of criminals, revealing the stories that lurk just beyond the flicker of candlelight. All right, guys, tonight we are diving into a case that shattered the image of the perfect family. A beautiful home in Colorado, a wife who loved deeply, two little girls full of light, and a baby boy on the way. But behind closed doors, something dark was building. This is the story of Shannan Watts. So before we talk about what happened to Shannan Watts, we have to talk about who she was. Shannan was born January 10th, 1984, a Capricorn, guys, a go-getter, a dreamer. She was someone who loved to work hard. She worked her butt off. And she wasn't afraid to share her life either. She was kind of like influency, right? So she shared the good, the bad, all the in-between, her family life. She also had health issues, and she talked about it. She battled lupus. She was really relatable. She was really loved. But, you know, even having lupus never slowed her down, right? So she built a business from home as an affiliate marketer with Thrive. She was raising two little girls, Bella and Celeste. They called her Cece. Celeste was Cece too. And she was carrying a third baby boy who she named Nico during her final months. She was known on her Facebook Live as someone interactive. She loved jumping on there, telling everyone about her life and updating, connecting people. And, you know, she was an affiliate marketer, and so this was part of her business. But it was really seamless for her to be this way because that's who she was, right? She was authentic. She was a planner. She was the protector of the household. She, made sure everybody was where they needed to be. She handled all the appointments. And most importantly, she just loved her family, even when things got hard. But now, where is Shannan? Because a missing persons case is now opened. Now, let's talk about Chris Watts, Shannan's husband. On paper, he seemed like a quiet, supportive husband, just kind of always in the background, waiting to be supportive, soft-spoken, hardworking, a good dad. Shannan documented so much, so we got to really see what Chris was like as a dad on social media. So Chris was the guy who grilled chicken on Sundays and smiled in every photo because he was that guy, right? So we saw him playing with his little girls on Facebook, on her lives. He seemed like the guy who is gonna go and read to them every night, pray with them. So nothing seemed out of place. But Chris wasn't just quiet, he was becoming emotionally disconnected. The passiveness was him just being conflict. He was trying to avoid conflict, okay? This is a man that just didn't speak out when things got hard, so he would just shut down. And at first, Shannan thought it was just him being shy, I guess, because she's so assertive. She was maybe cool with that. She got to be in charge. He was like her, you know, the yin to her yang, right? But over time, it became something more. She noticed that he was pulling away, and because he didn't really communicate, it was really hard to have these conversations with him. So he wasn't affectionate. He started avoiding her texts. He started focusing mainly on working out. So he did lose weight. And he was so proud of that. He married her at around 280 pounds, and now this guy is at 180, lean, right? And by the summer of 2018, he was gone emotionally, even though he was still living under the same roof. Except he was really good at pretending everything was good, even though it wasn't. Shannan, though, was feeling it, right? She was telling her friends via text and these are texts that were found later when detectives were investigating the case, that apparently she knew something was up. She felt it, right? It was her gut instinct. They were not having sex. She felt unloved. He wasn't talking to her. And this is a man that was always just really supportive. So now he's it's a completely different person. August 13, 2018, Shannan comes back from a long week of training with Thrive, her affiliate marketing company. And her friend Nicole had just dropped her off. It was around 2 a.m. And that is the last time anyone heard from Shannan. Because the next morning, Nicole was texting her, right? Shanann is always on her phone. Her phone is her lifeline to her business, right? And she never not answers. So Nicole started feeling a certain type of way when she wasn't, answering. They're always talking every single day. And she kept texting her. And then she realizes that she's not going to get a response. So she decides to contact her parents and the police. The police then joins her and they go to her house, right? She's like, I got to go back. I got to know where my girlfriend's. And I love this because if it wasn't for Nicole, we probably would have waited a lot longer to know that something was wrong, right? So she was on it. It wasn't even 24 hours. And so now they're at her house and you can see body cam footage of this moment because they're trying to get into the house and the police officer is saying, hey, we can't get in. We cannot get in without someone's consent. They have the parents on the phone. The parents are not enough of consent. It would have to be Chris. And in that moment, you see Chris running up, right? And they begin to interrogate him. Chris opens the door like a good little husband and lets them in. However, Chris begins to tell police that his wife just left early that morning. They had an emotional conversation, which isn't always good, right? That's probably, I don't know, Chris, maybe we should have kept that to ourselves for a while, but this man was a horrible liar, and we're going to continue to see him lie, okay? He says she took the kids to calm. It's like an eerie calm, but you can just see it in his face. Like he's really, really trying hard to just be so focused on these details. Nicole Atkinson, though, isn't buying it. She tells police that this isn't like her friend. It's not even close. It's not part of her personality at all. Body cam footage shows Chris like kind of pacing back and forth. His hands are on his head, like he's like, oh no, where's my wife? Like I don't even know who does this. Who does this with their hands? Like it's acting. It's like, please let my wife be okay, right? He kept saying this, and you can actually look this video up on the internet, and it's just I'm laughing not because it's funny, right? But because he's an idiot. So and I felt like the whole time I'm watching this, it's like this guy has no idea the way he looks, and there is documentation the entire time. Researching this wasn't difficult because there is just so much damning evidence against this guy and so many videos of him just pretending. He's the worst actor in the world. So Chris lets the officers in the house. He's a good little husband. He's like, look, there's no forced sign of entry. We're leaving that because it's authentic. I cannot talk today. I don't know what's going on, but we're on this ride together, okay? So no bags packed, okay? The car is not missing. This man is saying that his wife is missing. And guys, his daughters are missing too. He's like, where are they? I don't know what happened. We had an emotional conversation and now they're gone. What mother leaves a house with their kids without anything? This man is saying they left the house without anything. I'm a mom and I literally look like I'm leaving for a 2-week vacation every time I leave. Like I'm holding everything. Like what? Not even a sippy cup. Not even a sippy cup. These girls are under the age of 5. So this guy is absolutely sounding guilty already because he's saying nonsense, right? They're like, what? How did she leave without anything? He's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's, and I wasn't home, so I have no idea. Like, what do you mean you were not home? Okay. So also the house is really, really clean. Like someone purposely cleaned it up to make it seem normal, but it's not normal. Anybody with kids knows that it's not normal to have a house that is that tidy, especially that early in the morning. Oh my goodness. Mornings are chaos in my home. Trying to get kids to school, like there's no cereal on the counter, nothing. So Chris's neighbor, Nate Trina Stitch, I'm butchering that name, so I'm so sorry. Nate, I'm sorry. He came forward offering his home surveillance footage, okay, and he pointed something out that was really weird. Nate sat with detectives at Chris's house the morning after this morning when Shanann was missing with the girls, and he played the video. And Chris at the time was just freaking out, right, because he's watching himself. And in that video, you can see him actually in his driveway at around 5:15, and he's like moving stuff around, but there's not like a clear shot because Shanann's car is blocking his truck, right? Like to be able to see it fully, but you can see him kind of like rummaging in the back. And during this time, he could not stop fidgeting while he's watching this video. He is just like moving around and then talking way too much and kind of avoiding the screen as everybody is also watching. Nate, who knows him, they're acquaintances, neighbors, they see each other often, they hang out at the barbecues, right? He's saying he's not acting right. He's acting weird. And you see this. Nate is on camera saying this, and even the police officer is trying to, I don't know if the police officer was just trying to like keep the peace in that moment, right? Because he senses that something is off, but also he can't really give his input. The only thing he does say is like, people get nervous and you never know how people are going to act in a situation like this. His wife is missing, so he might not be acting like himself. But we all know the truth. So Chris starts doing interviews because now the entire world is watching. He pleads for his wife and his daughters to come home. There is a shot of him staring into the camera, pleading, but there's no emotion in his eyes. This man is not even crying. And this video is what made him instantly famous because absolutely no one believed it. This man was hiding something. The whole world was watching. They wanted to know what happened to his family because this guy is a liar. So Nicole tells them that Shanann had gotten in an argument with Chris's mom over some ice cream she gave her granddaughter, Cece, knowing supposedly that Cece, supposedly she knew that Cece had a food allergy. So of course, Mama Bear was kicking in and she was like, hey, Chris, you need to tell your mom that she is putting her daughter at risk and that she should understand her allergies and that, all that. And I get it. You can't mess with people's kids. I just think, personally, grandparents can be a bit dismissive of our niece sometimes. They just think that they know better. They're a bit old school. I swear this happens with my family all the time too. But Shanann was not having it. Remember, she liked things structured the way she wanted things structured. But a food allergy can be really devastating to a child, right? We're talking about an ER visit and possibly more. So she got really mad. She was getting a little spicy. Chris, okay, being the good husband he was, received a text message and was like, you know what, I'm going to set this straight. And the text message shows that he was being supportive like he always is. And remember, though, Shanann has a very strong personality. She wanted things the way she wanted them. And, I feel like for a second when I read this text message, Chris was a little bit scared of her. And again, we all know what ended up happening with Chris, but there are actual people on the internet to this day that go, well, she was just too bossy, right? She was just too bossy. And I honestly think that's bullshit because I think women always get labeled bossy when they're assertive, but men are leaders because they're bossy, right? So she wasn't cruel. She wasn't abusive. She was just somebody that knew what she wanted, and she adored her family, and she wanted the best for them. And her friends said that she did everything from a place of love. So this allergy incident happened during a 5-week trip to North Carolina. So both Chris's and Shanann's parents lived there, right? So she spent time with both of them during the allergy situation, okay, and also her family, her parents were there, spending time with the kids. And it was great. It was beautiful. Outside of the allergy thing, right? And outside of the distant nature of their marriage. But Shanann felt like something was happening while she was there. It continued to bother her, to irk her. She kept texting her friends, and she felt like the distance was even worse. She felt that maybe taking this trip was going to bring them closer together, right? That they were going to be able to share, like, what they did and just have, I don't know, like a conversation, which they're just not having anymore. But during their trip, Chris was, like, on a vacation of his own, but outside of their marriage. Okay, he wasn't even answering FaceTime, right? Usually he does. Usually he talks to the girls. So now when investigators dig into phone records, finances, and surveillance footage, the cracks are showing. They find out that Chris is having an affair with a coworker. In June of 2018, Chris is basically living a double life, right? That's when it started, apparently, okay? He's telling this woman, Nicole Kessinger, that he is separating from his wife. She's aware that they have children together, but he's like, don't worry, like, you know, you're going to be a great stepmom. No, that's not what he was saying. I don't know what this guy was saying. All I know is that he's cheating on his wife, okay? And apparently, this girl thought that their marriage was ending. And he told her that he didn't love Shanann anymore, and they were going on dates, they were working out together. She was like a fitness girly too. He started deleting phone calls, erasing text messages, spending a lot of extra time at work. He's like, Mom, I have to start this new project, honey, and I'm gonna be here late. So there was a lot of that going on, right? And during Shanann's trip to North Carolina, he was spending a lot of time with her, okay? And this was leading to the disappearance, okay? A little side note, guys. Shanann was pregnant during this time, about 15 weeks pregnant. Apparently the mistress didn't know about this, okay? So he just told her what, I guess, he felt she needed to know. So during the investigation, they interviewed Nicole, and she seemed angry. She seemed not to know anything about anything. So Nicole cooperated fully, and honestly, that's the least that she could have done, because I really feel that a part of her had to know that this man was not doing things the correct way. She had to know that he wasn't fully invested in her just yet, that this was just something he was trying out. He was testing the waters, okay? And he was telling her that they were getting a divorce. It's just so gross. Like, I can't handle cheaters, okay? So there's a lot that I can handle, but that is just like one of those things that I'm like, that's a big old no for me. And the investigation continues, and Chris agrees to a polygraph. Watts was taken in for questioning first, though, by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. And up until this point, Chris has been denying any claim that he had anything to do with Shanann's disappearance or the disappearance of their kids. And he was insisting that, he just had no idea. He had no clue. He left the house, and he has no idea where they are. And he kept his cool, but it was way too cool. There's no panic. This man is not even crying. Not one time did he cry. Not one time. He was just quiet. And all the answers seemed like rehearsed, like kind of robotic. And he basically just said that Shanann left in the morning after an emotional conversation and that she took the girls. He has no idea where they went. He started, though, admitting that, things had been strained in their relationship, that they were going through something like super normal, right? Like all marriages go through something similar, right? So relatable. He actually mentions that him and Shanann had not been intimate for a while, and that maybe she left, on her own, and that maybe she just left. She just needed time away. But remember, guys, like, she was just on a vacation for 5 weeks in North Carolina. She had just come back from about a week with her marketing company, and now he's saying that she's gone. Like, why would she leave again, right? And just take the kids and not say anything. But he never said once, "Have you found my kids?" He never cried. Like, he never questioned anything. It was all just so weird. He was just kind of floating, detached above everything. And so this is when detectives knew, like, this man is not looking for his family. He's holding something back. The video of him being interrogating leading into the polygraph is actually kind of sick. He refers to his children as these children. He keeps saying, these children. If these children are not okay, he wasn't sure how he was going to be able to cope with it. It was actually insane how many times he said, these children. Never his children, my babies, nothing. Like, it was as if he was talking about somebody else's children. So the detective sends him home after their investigation, right? They already knew this guy was guilty, okay? We're just trying to get him to say it. And the following day, he comes to meet Tammy Lee. She was performing the polygraph test. And I love how she imposed, like, these cognitive stressors on this man before he even started. It was masterful. He was already looking and sounding guilty. And so Tammy wasn't really just running a polygraph. She was, like, running the beginning of this man's unraveling, because he is going to start squirming, and she knew it. He was already, like, sweating, okay? So in 2018, a Lifetime documentary titled Chris Watts, Confessions of a Killer, Tammy explained that he was just, like I said, wildly untruthful right from the beginning. And his polygraph score was actually proof of this. The type of testing that Tammy performed would consider someone to be deceptive if they were like a -4 or below. So Chris Watts' score was -18. 18. Completely busted. But I want you guys to understand, and we can pause for a second, because I know some of you are probably thinking, like, why don't they just use like a polygraph to like test everyone and catch them and throw them in jail? If Chris Watts failed his, why wasn't that enough? Well, polygraphs they sound scientific, and they are, but legally it's shaky, right? They're on shaky ground. But because polygraphs measure your heart rate, breathing, and sweat, and physical signs that you might be lying, and technically it doesn't prove that you're lying. It just proves that you might be. Maybe. It proves that you're nervous, though. And let's be real, who really wouldn't be nervous strapped to wires? Like, I'm an anxious person. I'm anxious. I for sure would fail a polygraph. So polygraphs are tools. They're not truth machines. They're often used to pressure suspects like Chris Watts, but not to convict them. We want Chris Watts to break. This is so we can shatter his illusion of control. This is what Tammy was doing. Okay, she used this not to convict him, but to like break him. Like, come on, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth that we already know. I want to make it clear that I find this fascinating. Okay, I find it fascinating that you can absolutely fail a polygraph, because I'm sure many have, and many people who've committed crimes have passed, and the opposite of that. So imagine being asked, "Did you kill her?" And if you're innocent, your brain might be like, oh my gosh, what if they don't believe me? I feel like that would be me. I'm like, shit, I'm guilty, even though I'm not, right? Because your pulse is jumping, your breath is like shortening. You're like, oh shit, like, it's that has to be an insane position to be in. But what if you have like past trauma? What if you have like some PTSD, some kind of panic disorder? Your baseline is already heightened, right? So this test is already stacked up against you. That's why most courts are not going to allow polygraphs as evidence. Unpredictable, too easy to challenge. So after hours of that pressure and after failing the polygraph, Chris makes a request. He asks to speak with his father alone. He wants his daddy. I know, I hate this guy. So detectives step out and Ronnie Watts walks into the room. That's dad. He sits across from his son, calm, unsure, hoping for answers, and Chris finally starts to talk. But what he says is still a lie. He tells his father that Shanann killed the girls, that she killed them, that he saw it happen, like he walked in on it, and he's like, I snapped and I killed her in response. He's like planning this. Like, it's clearly not true. We're gonna find out that it's not true. And Ronnie, this poor man, is like stunned. He doesn't even know what to say. It's like actually so sad. His dad, like his body, like he just hunches over, completely defeated because he doesn't know what to do. He was trying to be present and supportive of his son, and now he's like, wow, this man, this son of mine is a monster, and you could just see it. The dad didn't want to believe it. He's like rubbing his back, like in this video. It's super sad. And now he's broken and distraught. And his father actually says, God Almighty, son. And just kind of, he's like, that's it, right? This man is confused. He's like, how did we get here? He's disgusted by his own son. And this isn't the confession of a broken man, though. It's like an excuse. This is an excuse of a man trying to protect himself, even if it means he's blaming his pregnant wife. Right? He's blaming his pregnant wife. He wants the world to think that she killed her children and that he was like coming to the defense of his poor children because he's such a great dad. Finally tells his dad that Shanann is buried and the girls are in an oil tank in an area where he works about 45 minutes to an hour away from their home. And this is where you just see the dad give up in this video. I can't even imagine my kids telling me that they've done something so hideous and so disgusting. So on August 16, 2018, detectives searched a quiet rural oil site in Colorado owned by Anadarko Petroleum. That's basically the company that Chris worked for. And the site stretched wide across like the plains. Like you could see these two large oil tanks from an aerial shot that they shared. And it was sad because in that oil tank were his children. And it was just disgusting. And just a short distance away, nestled in a patch of disturbed dirt, was the body of Shannan Watts in a shallow grave, wrapped in a bedsheet taken from her own home. Her body was like barely covered, and inside of her was her unborn son, Nico. And just feet away in the oil tanks I just described was a secret. Well, that was not a secret anymore, that no parent could even fathom. Inside one tank was Celeste, Cece, and inside the other tank was Bella. Like, I don't even get it. I don't know. I know this sounds weird and I'm probably morbid, but why not put them together? Like, I don't understand what this man was thinking. Like, he had to climb each tank to put his children, 2 babies under the age of 5. Like, I just like, he had to carry their little bodies up like stairs to do this. Anyway, so the opening was about 8 inches or so across, and he forced them inside that. They had been submerged in crude oil for 3 days by this time, and the heat, the pressure, the chemical breakdown, it made the recovery painful, brutal. It was inhumane, and yet somehow they were still identifiable. Bella, the oldest, actually showed signs of struggle. Like she knew that her daddy was going to kill her or was killing her. Anyway, defensive wounds. Disgusting. And this wasn't just a disposal site. It was a place Chris knew, a place he thought no one would search, a place where he thought the oil could hide what he'd done. But they found them, and the truth could no longer be buried. On November 19th, 2018, Chris Watts stood in a Colorado courtroom, and he faced his families. Both families. These were his families. He had been married 8 years, right? And they're watching him as the district attorney laid out facts. He said, this man premeditated. It was a premeditated plan. He calculated the cover-up. This is a man who never showed real remorse until the day he was caught. Until that day after the polygraph. Shanann's family sat in this courtroom and had to watch all this. They were silent. They were so strong. It was horrible to watch. Shanann's mother, Sandy, addressed the court. Her voice was shaky but firm. She said, I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. And Chris never said anything back. Remember, he did not even say sorry. Not a single apology. Not a word in memory of his daughters, nothing. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3 for the murders, 2 for unlawful termination of pregnancy, and additional time for tampering with their bodies. He will never be a free man again. But no sentence could undo the pain. No punishment could bring back Bella, Cece, or Nico, or their mother, Shanann. This wasn't a tragedy, guys, not just a tragedy. It was betrayal. Like, their dad killed them, and he killed Shanann. His wife, like, it's sick. And while the courtroom may have offered legal closure, nothing can actually make it right again. And you'd think after the sentencing, the story was over, because remember, he wasn't fully truthful. He still didn't say exactly what happened that night. He was telling the world that Shanann killed her girls, right? On February 18th, 2019, 3 months after Chris Watts was sentenced, investigators from the FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation flew to Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, where he was, to ask him one simple question: why? And what really happened? And that's when he finally told them everything. In a prison interview, Chris Watts finally admitted what he really did. He said that he knew things were done between him and Shanann, knew that apparently she knew that he was cheating because she found like proof that he had been going out and spending money on dates. He never admitted to it, but he told her that, I don't love you anymore. He's like, I don't love you anymore, and I want a divorce. And then she freaked out. He said she freaked out and she said that I was never going to be able to see my girls again, he said. He told investigators that he woke up that morning knowing exactly what he was going to do. He killed Shanann, and after that, Bella walked into the room. She was rubbing her eyes and said, "What's wrong with mommy?" Then he wrapped her body in a sheet, carried her downstairs, loaded it in the back of his truck alongside his two baby girls, Bella and Cece. They rode with him for over an hour in the back seat, sitting next to their mother's dead body. Smothered Cece first with her own little blanket. She would walk around with her own blankie. Oh, I can't even imagine that. Both my kids have blankies. Like I'm. So he said that she didn't struggle. Then Bella asked, "What happened to Cece?" And then she started to say, "Daddy, no." And that was the last thing she said. And he says in this interview that he keeps replaying that last moment with her. Like he's so sad about it. No one believes you. Nobody. It's wild to me. Because the next day he actually called, this is a side note, guys, he calls his school and unenrolls his girls from school and then started calling a realtor to start discussing selling the house. I mean, the next day, and was texting his girlfriend about their future together. So he knew he was going to kill her. He knew that when she was on this trip, she would come back and he was going to kill her. I just don't understand why he killed the girls. Why not just give them a chance? I don't understand. Shanann Watts was not perfect, but she was present. She loved her children. She worked hard. She tried over and over again to hold their marriage together, but she saw what was going on. She saw the cracks, but she just didn't want to separate their family and break their family apart. Bella, Cece, and Nico. They were robbed of their futures by the one person meant to protect them. There's no justice that can fix that. There's no sentencing that can make that make sense, really. But what can we do? The only thing we can do is remember them. We can say their names. We can light a candle. We can keep telling their story. Not for the monster who tried to erase them, but for the love that lived in that house before darkness took over. Shanann, Bella, Cece, Nico, you are not forgotten. This has been Slaying with Santos. If you're feeling this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a review and don't forget to subscribe. New episodes drop every week. And until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and stay safe.